Hello there. Happy Friday, 1st of March. To those of you catching this video today, I'm coming in with a message for the month ahead. It's not a read on the energies of the whole month, but it's something that I felt really strongly guided to share with you in support of you as you navigate through the month ahead, coming weeks. And it is something that's come up in almost all of my sessions one-to-one with people, very strongly in my own personal process, my own personal life. And it is a simple message, but a powerful one. So just watch as the mind maybe resists receiving it as more of the same old, because this feels so important for us to truly, truly embody at this time. And it is a message about embodiment. So as the days and weeks unfold now, one of the themes that came through really strongly for March was that we're going to be invited to really inhabit our duality as human and divine. That we're going to move through experiences that are going to challenge us to navigate that apparent conflict between our spiritual, energetic, divine, kind of otherworldly realms, the inner realms, and the outer physical material realms of what it means to be a human incarnate. And so if you have been kind of in that process already at some level of harmonizing those polarities and the tension between those aspects and finding it hard to be in a body in this world, then this is going to come up even more so in March. So there's a real opportunity for us to practice and kind of enhance our ways of responding to the energies of change and maybe unexpected things happening that we could experience as turbulent, depending on how much you inhabit yourself. So this theme has come up in so many contexts for me, and it really is a key foundation for the weeks ahead and actually for the rest of the year, like for the months ahead and for the foreseeable future. And so it's really about inhabiting the lower centers of your body, like the belly center and the womb center, and finding residence in that place inside of you. Truly, truly coming into the practice of coming back down into yourself, inhabiting yourself more deeply, developing greater intimacy with yourself at all levels. So inhabiting yourself somatically, energetically, at a much deeper level than ever before, and also developing true, actual, genuine intimacy of contact with yourself at all levels. So physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, energetically, sexually, really like at all the levels of your being, starting to deepen into your intimacy and your knowing, your recognition of yourself, and the different textures of yourself, your needs, who you are at your core, but also at the very practical, mundane levels. So there's this inhabiting, like actually coming from the outer to the inner to really be inside yourself. We resist it so much. We all do. We love the idea of it, but truly actually practicing and embodying this, developing that greater intimacy so that you can then act in integrity with who you are, with being actually in your body, inhabiting yourself, like actually coming from a place of rootedness in your human body, connection to the earth, connection to source, inhabiting your channel, your vessel, the temple for your soul, this outer vehicle for your essence, and then acting in integrity, in authenticity, in like a true reflection, true outer reflection of your inner truth, which, by the way, is of course a mystery and is kind of ever revealing itself. So this is really about not acting from the fixed ideas of your familiar self, but really cutting through all of that, bypassing that to come into this freshness of the organic arising truth in the moment, of what's inside you and what wants to be reflected outside. And then so it's like expressing that true nature in different ways in your conversations, in your speech, in your movements. There's that integrity that can only come not from the mind or the ideas of who you are, but the truth of who you are, in all of your levels. And so the key in this is to really focus on inhabiting the womb space, the temple of the womb, the inner chamber, the home, like the inner ground of your pelvis, this kind of cradle, this inner cradle, to be able to come back down your spine and kind of rest this big bowling ball of a head into like plopping down almost into your pelvis, so that you're thoughts can have some respite, some dissolving, so that you can not be entirely inhabiting your head, like walking around on stilts, as I've said before, this really imbalanced, top heavy energetic of being so utterly identified with our minds and our ideas of who we should be or what we should be doing, to come into this fresh, surprising perhaps, and inherently threatening truth of, what's not controllable, what's arising and unfolding moment by moment by moment in this kind of open curiosity. And our mind can come in and support us in that, and our heart center, collaborate with us on that. It's not like you're going to lose control, but to really prioritize and favor the lower Dantien, the hara, the belly area, the whatever you want to call it, from whatever wisdom streams or cultural references you have or traditions that you're steeped in, and just your own language, actually, your own language for that part of you. But that womb space, the energetic like vortex, this infinite creative potential, that is like bringing the weight to make it like bottom heavy, bringing the weight down out of the head, back down the body into the womb space, to reside there, to then like operate from there. And I want to really emphasize here just how much it is a moment by moment kind of endeavor or intention, because no sooner do you get like a notification, like I just did there on my phone, it's like scrunch up and then coming back down again, a knock on the door, a phone call, a thought, a recollection of some difficult interaction, somebody enters the room, being around the presence of certain people. We get knocked off center so easily, and so it truly requires us to have this really conscious intention and devotion and dedication and commitment to inhabiting our room space, inhabiting our bodies, our pelvis, the lower body from here down. But as you'll notice, I'm not talking so much about the heart center today, for a reason, because that is also a place where there's a lot of overemphasis and we can get lost in the endless oceans of emotion. It needs to be grounded in the belly first. Otherwise, it's just like you're this, you know, wellspring, or this kind of a fountain of constant effulgent emotion that is all over the place and not supported or contained, or you're lost in the airy vortex of the mind. So we need the earth element. March is going to ask us to really find a way to center, ground, earth ourselves, but not just like being out in nature for sure, but I mean a deeper level of intimacy with your own body, with your own inner ground, the ground of your being. So really what this is also inviting us into is a more intimate like reconnection and encounter of our own nature as creators, our own like true nature, creator nature, inherent capacity to create and to do this in a way that is free and like unshamed. So this is of course another reason why it's scary to be, or like there's resistance to being down in the pelvis, because our sexual organs, our genitals, the sexual energy, the life force energy that moves through our sexual organs as divine eros has been so distorted and shamed and corrupted, and there's such inherited, trauma, as well as our own personal experiences of developmental trauma and actual like sort of acts of trauma and transgressions and abuses in this lifetime. So there's a lot at play that would want us to be scrunching up and out of our bodies and not inhabiting our inner ground. And this is the only true place from which we can find our like kind of act out or like follow the organic blueprint of who you're truly meant to be, not in the distorted kind of frozen habits and the frozen ways of behaving, like speaking, talking, like these kind of really limited, people talk about limiting beliefs, like the traumatized, frozen patterns, into this fresh, organic kind of way of being, and like finding your place in the world, like in the bigger web of creation. And that's like in a very practical way, being in the right relationships, being in the right line of work for you at this time, what actually matches the intelligence, the organic intelligence of what life is calling you into, what your human body is needing, what your practical life is needing from you materially on all these different planes. Not talking about spiritual bypassing at all, quite the opposite, actually. It's finding the divine back down in to the pelvis. There's some quote that's coming to mind that I must look up that I can maybe post below, about finding God between, is it between the anus and the vagina, or some, I can't remember who said that. I think it's an Irish poet, and it was mentioned on the recent retreat that I attended. And I just thought this was just so exquisite, that like that's the reality, that we're talking about the mechanics of like what, you know, sort of slightly old-fashioned, or how would I say, prudish people in Ireland would call your nether regions, like this uncharted terrain of the nether regions. I'm talking about like your genitals, your organs, like the blood flow, really coming back down into an exploration, an intimate exploration of this juicy, down and dirty, you know, like part of us that contains all these fluids and all this, the viscera, like really the fleshy, meaty reality of this part of our bodies, as well as the energetic home base that it is for us, actually. And this completely open conduit for creation when we are more in flow with it and we're not blocking it off and ungrounded and up in our heads. And so just to kind of wind this to a close, it's truly about building a sense of safety. Like it's as much about sort of defrosting trauma, of course, and kind of defrosting these old patterns, as it is creating a home for yourself inside your body. And I, of course, acknowledge like what that takes, you know, what it requires us to encounter. When you come back down in yourself, you're going to encounter the emotions that are frozen, the physiological trauma, all of these different energies, and many of which are not actually yours, that you've internalized as well. But you're like becoming the sovereign inhabitor and occupier of the terrain of your womb. You're, by doing this feels like it has some juice in it, as I say it, and maybe be a helpful anchor for you to reclaim that sense of yes, yes, like no to the invasion of an occupier inside my womb, no to the invasion of the patriarchal energies that are trying to extract my productivity, extract my creativity, extract my energy, my life force energy, or freeze it, repress it, because the solutions, the very simple solutions to the world's problems, lie in our being able to inhabit ourselves as whole, healthy humans, and not project and fragment all these different parts of ourselves and spew them out at each other. It's really, really key at this time that we each find a way, those of you who are following me are in my audience and in my world and in each other's sphere who are conscious of these things. It's really important for this particular group of us at this time to re-inhabit our lower centers, be grounded in that, find a safe haven in that, that this can become a place that you can come home to as things get more crazy and turbulent in the outside world, so that you are then in right relationship with yourself. Much easier to be in right relationship with others, to say the truth that needs to be said, be very clear and discerning in your boundaries. It's much easier then to be able to act in integrity in a way that's going to be sustainable, that's not reactive, and that is like a long term, you know, solution and long view leadership, as the elders speak of. I've just spotted them from a distance, but haven't looked into their work too much. But it feels really important, even as things feel like they're on fire, like to do the very thing that you don't feel like doing, which is pause, re-inhabit. I really can't emphasize enough how, you know, embodied and simple and direct this is. I'm not talking about reading books on the body keeps the score or reading books on trauma. If that helps you, great. I'm not talking about just writing it down as an intention. That's one part of it, or like setting that intention or having this you know, mantras around it or talking about it or sharing with it. I'm talking about just this very direct personal experience of coming back down to the belly, the calf center, the heart, that energetic center that is the ground of your being, and actually trusting that there can be a safety in relinquishing the addictive control of the mind and the addiction to thinking, the addiction to seeking outside of ourselves, to re-inhabit very simply that inner ground. And from there, the rest is supported. From there, you have access to your emotions. Fear not. You will not lose access to your precious head and your thoughts and your mind. They will always come back in and intervene, you know. So even though that may have been a safe place to reside, of course, as a child, when things were overwhelming, when your nervous system was not developed enough to feel fully, when it was not safe to be in your pelvis and not safe to inhabit yourself and your body more fully. That habit, going up and out, it's time for that to be unwound now and healed, and to create a new habit of circling back down into your inner ground and harmonizing, just to kind of close and bring it back to my original point. This is what is going to help us to harmonize this conflict, this apparent conflict between being a divine being, having an essence, this essence in incarnate form. And this is what's going to allow you to dance in the dualities, dance not necessarily the crazy dance. It doesn't have to mean that you're like surfing the waves of change in craziness. Actually, it means that you can perform your own dance, your own elegant kind of, what's the word for it? Your own unique, elegant kind of something about, I don't know, like with dignity, that you can dance with dignity as well as be wild and free, and you're not ungrounded. You're in it. We're not escaping this living of being human. We're fully living, fully here. Your pelvis, you're unclenched, your legs as much as is possible, and gradually more and more so, living this full experience of dancing in the craziness of human life incarnate with some level of presence and dignity and sovereignty, and then enjoyment. Because after all, this is all about being able to feel fulfilled as souls on the human journey, and fulfilled in our human lives, that they come into harmony and they're no longer competing aspects of ourselves in conflict. And the more harmony lies within you, and the more you come home to that sense of wholeness and this union, this unity, this sacred union, this hieros gamos within, the more you can be in sacred union, intimacy, integrity, and inhabiting of yourself, the more you can be a presence for that in the world for others, the more you can be a presence that allows all of life to thrive, because you are back in that organic flow within. So I've circled around it in various ways. I think I've made my point at this stage, but I hope you can feel the energy of that, and feel even the difference myself, as I sort of spiral here and sense into that lower center. It's possible to be speaking, acting, typing, taking action, messaging, whatever it is. It's possible to engage with the world while still being in our inner ground. We just need an awful lot of healing and practice of it. So now is the month to practice in March. I wish you well in this divine human dance. I'd love to hear any thoughts you had on what I just shared. May you be well and in harmony and wholeness with your true nature.